Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? It is Saturday morning. I'm out in the shop. I got the heater cranked up, trying to build the temp in here. It's like 21 degrees out, so it's a little chilly. It's gonna take a while for that to heat up. I've got some work to do in the shop today. I'm going to work on that pin that I started the other day, the one that the end of it I sheared off. So we're going to do some work on that. And if I have some time, I'd like to do some work on the pop box. If those of you who follow me over on the podcast know that we all talked about something we wanted to try out, in the shop, and then we made the decision that we were going to try it and report back on it at the next podcast. So that was kind of fun. So I'm going to work on that if I get a chance. And I got another little secret project over here I'm working on, but that's nothing that we need to worry about right now. Show you guys something new I just put in the shop, and I had to do this. I make videos now for 3 different channels. I make standard videos for the RGB Woodturner channel. I make videos for What You Doing Bob, and I make videos for Patreon. And, I only have the one camera. I don't have 3 separate cameras, and I need some way to divide them up. And normally I just stick my hand in front of the camera and take a photo, and I know that that's a cut point, and that video goes to a different folder on my laptop so that it could be cut into, the video for whichever channel I'm making a video for at that particular time. The thing is, while I'm in the shop, I don't just make one video. I'm shooting videos for all 3 channels. So I'll shoot a little video. Right now, I just shot the W before I did this because this is the What You Doing Bob update. And I'm going to do my update here. When I'm done, I'll click one of the other ones and start on the video for that channel. So it gets a little tricky, but this is just something I had to implement so that I know when I see the photo of the letter, that's my break, and I know which folder to stick it in on the laptop so that when I get time to edit, it's all there, because you will forget. And you'll see sometimes, it's not uncommon for me to have 120, 130 clips, small video clips on this camera that I've got to sort through. So I just had to come up with something, and this is super silly and super simple, but it's just a way that I can come over, shoot the letter, and then I know what folder to stick it in, so I don't have to worry as much about the sorting. It really takes that time curve and just really just drops it, right? It's a whole lot less work. So we're gonna work on that. I'm gonna head over here and get started on this blank that got the end slipped off of it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna flip around, take a photo of the V. Then we're gonna get over there and work on the video of that blank. I'm trying something out here. I've got some blue food coloring and I've mixed it with the CA. It was really weird when I first put the blue food coloring into the little indention there, and I put a drop of CA on top of it. It spread kind of like oil and water would. It was really, really kind of cool to see. So I got something and I mixed it up a little bit, and it looked pretty blue. And now, of course, it's run all over the place. I don't want to roll it over because that's still pretty wet. But it looked pretty cool. I let it sit for a while. I came back, and what I noticed was you could see the tube. The blue was starting to kind of separate again. So I guess the food coloring and the CA, one being water-based and whatever CA is, I guess they're just not mixing well. So I don't look for this to work. It did stain the blank up pretty good, but that's okay. I think I can probably stain the rest of that wood if it does work and make it look pretty neat. But we're just gonna, I don't know. There's not much else to do. I've already taken this step, so we're just going to keep working with it and see if we can fix this blank. I'm hoping to shut that off or get that off the lathe. I put it on the other mandrel so that I could put a knurl nut on it, and I'm hoping to set it somewhere, let it dry really well before we go back to turning it. I'm gonna leave it on there just for a little bit so I can keep checking it and make sure it doesn't separate again. And once we get it off the mandrel, I'm going to work on a pop box today. I don't know that I'll film it because I really want to kind of learn so that I can talk about my experience on the podcast. But this is something I've been wanting to make more of. I made one a long time ago, and I've shown it to you guys before in videos, and I'm pretty happy with it. And there it is. You hear that little pop? It's better if you pull it apart with 2 hands. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. But I want to make one of those, and I want to get better at making those because, and if I do, I'll make a video or 2 for you guys. But that's what I'm going to work on here shortly. I've got this blank, and I found the center. You can see it's got this extra section on it, and I don't want to have to turn that off, so I've set my fence up, and of course I put this behind the fence, and it laid right there. So I'm just going to cut a little slab off of this. I've already started when it occurred to me to shoot a quick shot for you guys. But we're going to knock that off. It won't make it round, but it'll be a little closer to round, and then we're going to get this mounted up on the lathe and start truing it. I ended up making 2 passes. You can see the cut marks. Simply because that was such a large piece. When I took the first piece off, there was still a hook on there. It's not perfectly round, but it's not bad. I didn't throw it off center. I think that's going to still work out for me. So let's get this on the lathe and look at truing it up. Temporarily laid this blank over here. I ended up putting a little more food coloring on there just to kind of darken it up, and it sort of sunk in a little bit. So a little more of the CA glue. I think probably what happened is, since this tenon on this acrylic blank is so much smaller than the tube, the CA probably sunk in a little bit because it probably got in around that tube. So I'll probably have some clean out on the inside of the tube to do as well, but it's looking better. We'll see what happens. Got the blank mounted up. I've got a live center in the tailstock. I've got the spur style center in the headstock. I really like it because you just basically find your 2 points. This has a point. Well, let me show it to you. It has a point in the center and all these little teeth that grip. So basically, you find your center on the headstock and tailstock, and you just put your live center in one end. You put the center point in this end, and you crank it together. Let me get it lined back up, and we'll crank it down. I've got my points lined up on both ends. My tailstock is locked in place, and I did bump this with a rubber hammer to really make sure it was locked down. Now I'm just going to turn the tailstock, twist it in, and see how that point digs right in. And you crank it down tight until those teeth grab. And once those teeth get a hold of that block, it's going to hold it nice and tight. Notice how I put this on the lathe for turning. You've got this area here this is where it hooked up, right? And it had a nice big piece that kind of hooked over like this. And I cut that off in 2 passes. I don't want it the other way where I catch this big hunk every time it comes around. I want to come down the side here where it's smooth, and I'm turning and turning and turning, and then I just turn right off of that. I think it'd be easier for me to true that up. Now what we're going to use to true this up is this Carter & Son skew. Now this thing is amazing. It was a gift from Tommy Stridham and Eddie Stipe, and I absolutely love it. But what I found is, for pins, this thing is just overkill. I mean, I've said it before, it's like using a bazooka to kill a fly. But for something like this, this should be just the tool for the job, and I'm excited about using it. What I probably will do is, over here on my drill press, you'll see I've got this little deal here. I got this at Woodcraft many, many years ago, like 2011, 12 time frame. It's a piece of leather, and it's a strop, and you just put a little bit of this rosin on it while it's spinning. I think I'm running at about 400 RPMs, and then I can run this against that strop, and what it will do is it'll sharpen that edge up. I use that on my other skew all the time, and what I did is I put it on my wheels there, my CBN wheels, and I got the right angle using a marker, and I sharpened it, and then I brought it over, and I've got these 2 little diamond hones here. This one, I don't remember the grits on them. This one's coarser than this one, and I shoot a little water on there. Windex works great as a lapping fluid, and I lap them. And take that, you continue to roll the burr to one side, then you flip it over, roll the burr back to the other side, and then when the burr drops off, I bring it over here and I strop it, and then while I'm turning, I'll come over and strop, and that keeps that blade on that skew, and this one as well, so sharp that you can run it up your arm and it will literally peel the hair off your arm. It's insane how sharp. It's like a barber's straight razor. She's almost true. We need a couple more passes and we'll be there. Take a look at that blank, how smooth it is now and how nice it looks. No tear out. Might have a few tool marks I need to work out, but that's all small potatoes. A little sand will clean those right up. The reason why the first time I turned the phone off and you saw what looked like a little bit of tear out, as I was truing this up, I used the heel of the skew, and I came in and used that to true it up. Then after I got the majority of the excess material off, I moved down the skew a little bit. You can kind of see the mark on the skew right there. I hope you can see it, where the wood was going off. But right about, if you look at the skew, right about there is where I was cutting, which gave me a nice smooth cut. You never ever want to go above halfway. You go above halfway and the toe of the skew is going to catch, and you are going to get one horrid catch. And that's the biggest problem people have with the skew, and that is the biggest reason why people do not like to use it. But if you just remember, when you first start using a skew, if you take yourself a marker and you draw a line right in the center of that skew, a red or a black marker, and you tell yourself never ever go above that line. And so if you see yourself getting close, you just kind of move the skew down a little bit. You will have smooth cuts and you will avoid catches. What I want to do now is probably cut a couple tenons on either end of this, and then I'll part off the cap, and we'll start cleaning up the cap and the base of our box. I'm using a Bedan tool to cut this tenon now. Bedan tool is a lot like a parting tool, except it's just really thick. I don't know, that's probably 3/8 of an, yeah, it's 3/8 of an inch. That's what it says on the tool. This is a Benjamin's Best. I think I got this from Penn State, maybe. I believe they're the ones that sell Benjamin's Best. And I'm just using a pair of calipers. What I did is I closed my chuck all the way to where the jaws were closed, and I put the caliper on there and got the dimension. And what I want to do is turn a tenon that is just slightly larger than that dimension, because what you want to do is when you bring your chuck and close it on your piece, you want the chuck to be as close to being fully closed as possible. But obviously, you know, this has to be a little thicker because you got to be able to grab it. And at the end, you saw me, I went down and made sure my shoulder was perfectly square, and then I came back and I went at a bit of an angle, and I just cut that tenon in, because the jaws will kind of be angled like this, so they'll grab that and grip it, and you get a really nice grip on that. So I'm going to go ahead and put a tenon on the other end. I've got my parting tool, and we're going to go ahead and just pick a spot, let's say about here, and we'll part this off, and this will become the cap to our pop box. I will cut a relief, which means what I'll do is I'll cut a little bit, and then I'll come back and move the tool over and cut again, so that I've got a slot that's about 1.5 times the thickness of my tool, and that'll keep me from you know, getting this jammed inside of the turning. You want to always have a little bit of relief in there, because if that jams, you could pull this off of the lathe and have an accident, or it could grab the tool and throw the tools. I want to give you guys a quick shot at this. It's going really well. I've got the lid finished and sanded on the inside. I've got the inside of the lid finished and sanded. I need to clean up this little lip here. That is what will snap onto the tenon of the body. And you see I got a little bit of the Aussie oil on it. That's what I finished it with. I sanded down to 400, and then I finished with Aussie oil. This was sent to me by Tommy Stridham. It's pretty amazing stuff. Basically, I just put some on a rag, and then I wipe the inside down until I have good coverage, turn the lathe on, and just work it in like you would a friction polish, and it gives an incredible smooth, rich look. It's hard to see in there because my lighting is not the best. When I do the outside of this, you'll really get a chance to see how the Aussie oil makes this wood pop. Here's a better look at the inside of the cap. And I've gone ahead and hollowed out my box. Once again, the lighting's a little tough there. And I started working on my tenon, and I got a little too aggressive, and look at that. So, what I'm gonna do, and this is, the thing is with a pop box, you wanna keep the grain as close as possible, but this isn't gonna work, so I'm gonna shave this off, and I'm gonna back up and try a new tenon right back here. So my grain won't be as good of a match as it could be, but it's more about learning the process and making the thing work. I got the first tenon cut off. I've got a second tenon there. I'm just a little fat. It doesn't quite fit yet, but I got to thinking I probably should stop. I probably should go ahead and clean the inside of this out, get it sanded up, get it finished, and then come back and work on the tenon. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to, like, as I'm finishing this, get the Aussie oil out here, like I did on the Rabbit, and then I have to take it down and it's not going to fit tight. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the inside, then we'll fine tune the tenon, get this to fit as nicely as possible. We'll fit it on there, and then we'll work on cutting the tenon off of here and finishing the outside of the box so you can get shaped up and finished and see how that looks. Got my tenon made. Pretty tight fit. I think that's good though, because what will happen is as you use it, it will loosen up. But I like that. I got it lined back up. It fits really nice. It's always cool when the grain sort of aligns. You'll notice I got a little bit of a gap there. What that means is my tenon is just a tiny bit too long, but I can shorten that up fairly easily without hurting anything. And I'm going to do that, and then we'll bring the tailstock up, put it in there, and we can start shaping this a little bit, just cleaning it up and getting it finished. We've got to turn this tenon off the end. However, that's going to be tomorrow. I am done with this for tonight. I got something else I'm working on. I want to finish that up, and then I'm going in and have some dinner and calling it a night. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. It's been a total blast being in the shop today. I've had a great time. I'm glad that's almost done. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, tomorrow I'll shorten my tenon, and then I will turn it. I probably won't go for much of a design because the idea was to just turn it first. Don't get too fancy. I'll probably turn a couple of more, and then maybe I'll get a little fancier with them, or even think about doing a video. I did not record any of this except for what you're seeing right here. So you guys are the only ones knowing what's going on in the shop. That's it for me. I'm calling it quits. Have a great evening, and I will see you again probably tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.